Good morning, hockey fans. This is Steven Heisler with HeisHockey.com, the victorious hockey company, and that crazy junior hockey discussion group on Facebook. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. We are on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and more. Today is Friday, July 14th. Today's topic, the future of the USHL. And my guest today, the one and only good friend, Glenn Hefferan, the new commissioner of what? The USHL. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
It's a nice, beautiful day here in sunny Orlando. We'll have a high of 165 today. Should be nice and warm.
Mild.
Well, you know, in New Jersey, I think that our great God has blessed you with a little bit of rain today.
We just had a really vicious storm roll through. I was getting a little concerned. It felt like it was about 9:00 at night. That's how dark it was. But now it's bright and sunny. So good. Looks like we're gonna have a good day here.
We get that every afternoon. It makes the grass nice and green during this time of the year.
Yeah.
Typical 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock every day. We get a nice little blast. Probably from May until October. It's a daily occurrence for us. The car washes love it because we're there every day. So let's jump right into this. First of all, I've considered you a friend for the last 25 years or so. Could not be more proud of what you have been able to do within the game. Glenn, how do you feel about your new position with the USHL?
Well, first off, thanks for having me here today. And likewise, I consider you a friend. And you and I have had many, many discussions over the years. And I haven't, you and I didn't always agree on stuff, but we always found a way to come back to common ground. And I always appreciated your advocacy on player issues and stuff like that. And I think you've honed your craft really well. And so kudos to you. I'm excited to take on the role at the USHL. This is not something that I had if somebody said to me 6 months ago, this is where you'd be, I'd say no. I've been doing a lot of different stuff, a little bit in hockey and a little bit in real estate and some other projects. And about a year ago, I had somebody that I've known for 30 some odd years, a terrific hockey person, and said, "Hey, listen, I know your junior background, and I need some help. I want to buy a USHL team." And we able to put that together, and that kind of opened up a couple of other doors with a few other owners many of whom I've known in the league for a long time, along with some of their GMs and a few of their coaches. So one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, I'm in an interview process, and here we are, and I'm 2 weeks in, and it's like drinking from a fire hose. That's what I told everybody.
So what is the most important next step for the USHL under your leadership?
Well, I think for me, there's definitely some learning curve here. We just completed our first set of staff meetings this past week, and wow, what a staff! They're an incredible group of people. They care about each other. They care about the mission. I actually met with I'm meeting with each team and their staffs as well. So kind of have a whirlwind tour over the next 60 days to get with everybody before the season starts. And I'm super impressed so far with everything I've seen. So I think on the hockey front, their Division I college placement is second to none, and obviously their performance in the draft is stellar. Arguably the best in the world. They had the most draft picks out of any league, so that's a huge accomplishment and a credit to the teams, the owners and coaches and GMs that put it together, as well as the players that they've developed. So from that standpoint, I think the hockey side is really good, and there's always some issues to address. I think we're going to focus more on strong messaging and just some other things to tighten up broadcasts and stuff like that. So I think those are some of the things that are on the horizon. And as I said, the next 60 days will tell what my next 3 years will be, for sure.
Glenn, it's clear that the U.S. National Team Development Program is an outstanding developmental aspect for USA Hockey. But is having that program as a member of the USHL good for the league?
I think it is. I think it's been mutually beneficial. There's always some, because you're battling over players and those kinds of issues can come up. But I think the overall has been excellent. I've my very first games in the USHL. My USHL experience started in 1994. My first games were in Waterloo, to Des Moines, to Omaha, and these were record attendance nights that I had attended. These games were incredible, and I realized, for the leagues that I was running, that's where I wanted to get my players to. And the league was very different back then. NTDP gets created, and I think it became a game changer for everyone involved in elite hockey, and Jeff Jackson was the original orchestrator of that program, who's a phenomenal coach and coaching at Notre Dame. And Scott Monahan was his right-hand man, and Scott is still with the program, and Scott does an unbelievable job. So I think for those parts of it, it's been good. USA Hockey obviously has an obligation to always review its programs and see what's effective and what's working and what's not, and look to reinvent itself every few years. And I'm sure they'll have those discussions as time marches on. But I think overall the relationship has been mutually beneficial. So,
absolutely. The USHL commissioner has been the most important presence within USA Hockey's junior council since the league was granted Tier 1 status back in 2001. What can the USHL do to bring more stability to the level of play for the next 20 years?
It's a big burden to just solely put on the USHL. I think the USHL has to be a leader, and it has been. It has been a leader in the space of junior hockey and elite player development. So I think we're in a good position to continue to do that and to continue to set that bar. There's probably some more connection as a league that we can make down at the grassroots and with other high performance leagues. You've got a bunch of Tier 1 leagues out there, and they probably need to hone their mission a little better. I think the USHL's mission has been really clear, and so I'm excited that I think we can share some of that mission with the programs that are upstream that feed the USHL. So I think that's definitely part of the leadership, whether that's in the junior space or the youth space. And then obviously I think the USHL and the North American League have some really good synergies. There's a couple of teams that are mutually have mutual ownership between the USHL and the North American League. I've known their commissioner, Mark Frankenfeld, for a long time, almost as long as you. And I have a good working relationship with Mark, and so I'm excited, and we've had some preliminary conversations about some things. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to both be better positioned to help the space of junior hockey and elite hockey development in the years to come.
Let's switch gears on you a little bit, throw you a curveball. Over the last 20 years, we have witnessed a tremendous amount of society changes when it comes to the acceptance of disrespectful behavior. One of the foundations of our friendship has always been faith. What role will faith play in your leadership of the USHL? Will that lead to a systematic elevation of respect within the league?
Well, it's a challenging question to ask, and I appreciate you asking it. Faith plays a very important role in my life, and that of my wife. For sure, we're both very prayerful people. All through my process, I prayed a lot on as I went through the interview process here, and I continue to do that. I've seen. I'm a very big fan of what Hockey Ministries is doing. If anybody follows Hockey Ministries on social media, I do, and I love the work that they're delivering. They bring the messages that other players and coaches share. So I think that's powerful. Does faith play a role in my decision making? I certainly pray on difficult and challenging decisions, but ultimately there are business factors, and and practical factors and rules that come into play and guide my decisions. But I'll share one thing that I was just so glad to see. And Adam Fantilli had a vest made, and he had embroidered or stitched into that vest the names of all of the people that made a difference in his life, and coaches, teachers, family. And I was happened to be with Kim Davis from the NHL, and I asked her if she had seen it because she had mentioned being with Adam, and she goes, no. And I showed it to her, and she goes, did you see who's on top? And I go, no, I didn't. I zoomed in on the picture, and at the very top of the vest is a cross, and then first line, God. And sometimes that takes courage for some people to do that, and others it just comes really naturally. So I was really impressed with that. And I think when you think about how difficult the road is for an elite athlete, you're on that long bus ride home. There isn't anybody to really call. Sometimes that conversation with God goes a long way. So I'm always excited to see displays of faith, and I think it has to be respectful because not every person comes from that space. They're not a person of faith, and that's okay. That's their journey. So you never want it to be in a pushy way. There was a team when I was running the Met League, the Richmond Generals, and we had a showcase. It was the beginning of the season, and I remember standing with their owner, and I watched the entire team like huddle before they went out on the ice. And I asked him, what's going on? And he goes, they're praying. And I go, really? And he explained how it started with just 2 players. And then 4 or 5 more joined in. And then the next thing you know, the whole team joined in. And he goes, and there are 2 kids that don't participate, but they stand in observation and they respect what their teammates are doing. So I think it's respecting those that have faith and those that don't. And so I think that's an important part of it as well. So faith is important. And I think when you see the stories of so many athletes, they rely so much on their relationship with God and Christ to help them. And so I think it's an important thing.
Very good, Glenn. Because you mentioned the NHL draft earlier. The USHL had 39 players selected in the draft, more than any other league. The OHL had 35 and Western Hockey League 33. Is the USHL on par with major junior level of play when it comes to development?
Well, I'm not going to be the one to do the compare and contrast. We had a total of 51 that were both direct and indirect. So that's an important milestone. Several players were selected just a year out of the USHL in the college ranks and so on. So I'm proud of all of that. I think you use the motto by Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly and carry a big stick. And maybe we change that to, speak with a really strong digital message and carry Bauer sticks. Okay. Bauer is our equipment company. So I'll give a little plug to them. Yep. Glad you're wearing that. I think from that standpoint, I think you let the results speak for itself. There's no other league that has direct placement into college hockey. And this year, the USHL had more players drafted than any other league. So, you let the facts speak for it. I have heard whispers that some of our owners maybe would like to entertain a preseason game against a CHL team. So there's been some of that, and so we'll vet all of those opportunities out as they come to us. So nothing I'm going to compare. You just let the facts speak for itself.
The NCAA has made exceptions for the game of hockey while determining eligibility, keeping players from major junior out of college hockey.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of NIL money being tossed at college athletes these days, should the exceptions for hockey be continued?
I think it's a little early to tell. I don't think the main chapters that will guide name, image, and likeness have been written. There's a lot of things that are happening all over the space with 33 states, I believe, have their own individual legislation that guide name, image, and likeness. You've got Senators Manchin and Tuberville that are in the process of writing some legislation. As I understand it, by their own description, they've been inundated with college ADs and coaches about some of the harmful consequences that can come from what's happening in this area. One of the pieces that they've suggested is that no athlete should be able to sign a name, image, likeness deal until they've completed their freshman or their first semester of college. And I happen to agree with that. I think there's some more guidelines that need to be put into that. For example, Stephen, I don't know about you. I mean, I grew up in a pretty humble home and single parent household, and we didn't have a ton of money, but if somebody handed me a check for my athletic ability at the end of senior year for 50 grand, I could pretty much guarantee you that 50 grand would be gone by August. And so, there's a reason why the National Hockey League and the NBA and all of the major sports do rookie orientation. And some of it is to teach them some of the basic fundamental life skills that you need, opening up a checking account, how to manage your money. And so I think it's a lot of responsibility that, and they're being guided by agents, many of whom have good intentions and probably some that don't. So I think we have to wait to see when those final chapters are going to be written on how name, image, likeness will be legislated. I don't think we're out of the woods on that. So, to come back to the key point, I think that, the professionalization of it it's clearly defined in the NCAA and by name. They mentioned the CHL, so I think that legislation is likely to stay in place for some time. We don't know, but we'll take it as it comes. But certainly the league is looking at that as how we would respond to it. So we're certainly preparing for all of those kinds of things that could happen as a result of
it. It sounds like you're a little bit of rain in the background. Is it coming down pretty hard over there?
No, actually, it's as quiet as a mouse here. I don't. I'm hearing it too. I wasn't sure if it was a fan or something. I had turned my air off just to make sure.
I bet you had a blast of natural grass watering going on in the background there.
No, not at all.
Well, Glenn, it's been a great opportunity to talk to you this morning. I appreciate it. Again, we consider you a good friend, and you've been very supportive of my work in the last 20 years, and I appreciate that, and I look forward to continuing in the next 20 years if we make it that long, right? So we have a lot of hockey still to go, and this will be a fantastic season for the USHL this year. Thanks for joining the show.
Well, listen, thanks for having me, and I think I am in the third period, but I would say there's at least 18 minutes left to play. So, we're gonna stay on this and keep going and trying to do the good work.
Excellent. Well, folks, until Monday, hope that you enjoy your morning coffee. You got your coffee mug, Glenn?
No coffee? I have a white one. So here.